You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Ever notice how life's best stories don't happen in your living room? They happen on the open road, out on the water, or parked under the stars. At Progressive, they get that you want to focus on the experience, not worry about the what-ifs. That's why they offer quality insurance designed for your ride, whether that's a boat, RV, or motorcycle. Adventure with confidence. Visit Progressive.com and see how easy it is to protect your favorite way to get away. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in D.C. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hi, I'm Juliette Cowley, a retired FBI profiler and host of the true crime podcast, The Consult, Real FBI Profilers. If you're fascinated with true crime and criminal profiling, then join us as we discuss real cases and examine the behavior exhibited before, during, and after the commission of the crime. You can listen to The Consult wherever you get your podcasts. It's as close as it gets to being in the room with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 470 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great. I am as rested as I've been in a long time. You and I are both just getting back from vacation. We took last week off. I went to Jamaica for my daughter's wedding. We had a blast. You went to Greece.
I did.
And what happened?
I ate some good food. Well, I did get engaged.
Yeah, that's kind of how you told the story at dinner. That was the last part of it.
Yeah.
You talked about the food, you wearing a mankini, and then you said, oh, by the way, I got engaged.
Yeah, just building it up.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Penny Lewis.
Hey, Lewis.
Jinxie.
What's going on, Jinxie?
Mike Hawk.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Heather Bellamy.
Hey, Bellamy.
Jennifer Monroe.
What's up, Monroe?
Desiree Baker.
Hey, Baker.
And last but not least, Femke Van Heerden.
Well, thanks, Van Heerden.
If we go back into the vault, this week we selected Jennifer Ratcliffe.
Hey, thanks, Ratcliffe.
Yeah, we appreciate all the Patreon support we have. We have a new episode out right now on TCAT where we're talking about the murder of 25-year-old Janet Abaroa. She was stabbed to death in her Durham, North Carolina home in 2005. They kind of zeroed in on her husband early on, but it took a number of years before they finally made an arrest in her case. And it's a very strange case as far as the court and the outcome and all of that. But it's an interesting episode. Make sure you check it out.
Yeah, get out there and check it out now.
All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I am ready.
We're talking about the disappearance of Ben McDaniel on August 18th, 2010. Ben McDaniel went cave diving at Vortex Spring, a popular tourist spot in the Florida Panhandle. He never resurfaced. Over a dozen expert divers spent days searching for Ben, but they didn't find him. Some came to believe that he wasn't ever in the cave at all. So we got a little bit of a mystery here.
Makes me nervous when I think about going into caves, like those really narrow caves, out of the water, above ground.
Oh, yeah. And you add below the water,
Yeah.
I would be doubly nervous. Now, I did do a little snorkeling in Jamaica.
Yeah.
I've never actually gone scuba diving. I would love to try it.
It'd be fun.
What I don't think I would do is try to scuba through an underwater cave. It just, to me, is kind of panic inducing just thinking about it.
Yeah, I've watched the shows where they actually take the tank off their back and they slide it through the opening first, and then they go in behind it. And I'm thinking, do you even know? Is there a turnaround point? I mean,
Are you going to be able to get out?
Yeah.
That is very scary to me. Ben McDaniel was born on April 15th, 1980. He was the oldest of 3 sons and grew up in Collierville, Tennessee. Ben always enjoyed outdoor activities such as scuba diving and rock climbing. And we just talked about it, right? I don't think that would be something that would be for me, but there are a lot of people into scuba, rock climbing, maybe some people who thrive on adrenaline, or somebody you might call an adrenaline junkie.
yeah.
Some people love that and they can't get enough of it. They dive out of perfectly good airplanes, skydiving. These are all things that I have no interest in. In the late 2000s, Ben was going through an extremely difficult time in his life. He was living with his parents after his construction business failed and after a divorce. He owed a tax debt of almost $50,000 to the IRS and the state. Ben was also grieving his younger brother, Paul, who died in 2008 from a stroke. Paul was only 22 years old and was Ben's rock climbing partner. Ben found Paul unconscious in the family home and unsuccessfully tried to revive him.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, I mean, he's going through a lot, no doubt about it. But to lose a brother who's only 22 years old,
Yeah.
that is so young. To die from a stroke had to be devastating. And on top of that, the divorce, a failing business, a pretty large debt, to the IRS and the state. You're dealing with a lot.
And doesn't sound like you're going to have much of a support system because, like you said, divorce and then just lost your best friend and brother.
According to the 2012 documentary Ben's Vortex, Paul died of anoxic encephalopathy due to combined drug toxicity. After his brother's death, Ben met his girlfriend, 33-year-old Emily Greer, a wetlands biologist. They spent every night together talking about their future. They discussed starting a dive company together. In 2010, Ben's parents suggested he take a sabbatical. They offered to support him financially while he and his dog lived in the family's beach house at Santa Rosa Beach on the Emerald Coast of the Florida Panhandle. Ben accepted their offer and moved into the house in April 2010.
Sounds like a decent offer.
Sounds like a really good offer. No one has ever offered to pay me to live in a beach house.
No.
Now, I understand why they did it. We just talked about all the different things that he was going through. And it was said that Ben's parents and his girlfriend thought that the move was really good for his mental health. And what it did was, all this free time allowed him to participate in his favorite hobby, scuba diving. Ben had been diving since he was 15 years old. He started off by practicing in his family's pool. And if I was going to scuba dive, that's how I would want to start off.
Well, that's normally where they have scuba diving schools or pools, yeah.
Somewhere where I can stand up quickly if I start to freak out.
Yeah. You've never scuba dive at all? Not those quick courses? As long as you have to wait a day after you fly in and you can't fly out for...
No,
I did that once, and they taught us in a pool.
Mm-hmm.
And
they actually had a place there at the Sandals. I could have done it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was right there by my room. And I did snorkeling, but nobody wanted to do the scuba thing.
Yeah.
So it was said that Ben preferred to dive in freshwater. He frequently visited Vortex Spring, a small vacation destination just outside the town of Ponce de Leon. Vortex Spring is the largest diving facility in the state. About 30,000 people visit Vortex Spring each year. Families can stay on site in cabins or campers. And they offer diving instruction for all levels. And divers enjoy water that stays 68 degrees year-round, fed by the Floridian aquifer.
See, that's the thing about scuba diving, right? You got to know where you want to go because you can do cold water dives. I don't think that would be fun. I don't find that you have to put on a wetsuit or a thermal suit to go diving would be exciting. I would think I just would rather go into warm water and just put the strap on my back and let me go.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say 68 degrees is warm.
No.
It's not cold, but
You probably got to put some type of wetsuit on.
yeah. Well, can you at least wear trunks? Because for some reason, I imagine you in scuba and nothing else. And that's something I do not want to imagine.
I think that's the resort, next to your resort that offer that.
It actually was. But this really does sound like an amazing place.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 30,000 people a year going here to dive.
That tells you a lot.
What does it tell me?
It's a place to be.
Okay. Experienced divers come to Vortex Spring for the underwater wildlife and the cavern, a feature that starts at 58 feet below the surface. All divers are required to present proof of open water certification and sign a release of liability. And see, that's where you lose me right there.
I knew you were going to have an issue.
I feel
with that.
like anytime you have to sign a release of liability, and it says on there, this may cause injury, including death, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, like, okay, I'm out.
But again, I'm not the adrenaline seeker that a lot of people are. I know some people crave it. They can't live without it. They need that rush. And that's obviously a lot better way to get it than drugs or, something like that. The main attraction of Vortex Spring is the cave, which starts 300 feet from the cavern at a depth of 115 feet. Also, why are you talking like you're this expert on scuba diving? You just said you went one time to like a little instruction pool.
Hey, you learn a lot in that little bit of time. Plus Mensa.
Oh, the comeback for everything, Mensa. So at the entrance to the cave is this sign with a picture of the Grim Reaper and a warning that says, "Stop, go no farther. There's nothing in this cave worth dying for." That's words that I would probably take to heart. All right, folks, let's turn around. It's literally telling me, don't go in there.
Yeah, it sounds
ominous.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. The cave entrance is also blocked by a gate. Divers can only get the key to the gate from the dive shop when they present a cave diving certification.
Well, they're really making you think about this.
They are, but they're also safeguarding it, right? It's obviously not for the novice, I don't think. They only want you to try to tackle this if you've got quite a bit of experience, you've got all the right certifications. The policy was instituted after the deaths of 13 divers in the cave during the 1980s and in response to threats from the state to ban diving in the cave entirely. So no doubt, Gibbs, this is not without its dangers. They're not joking with the sign thing. They are probably, it's a little tongue in cheek, but obviously it's a very dangerous activity. 13 people died trying to dive these caves. It's also the reason why I don't go bungee jumping, because there are too many YouTube videos of a bungee cord snapping, or them forgetting to hook the safety harness correctly, or
tie the right knot.
Things can go bad. And I get it. Things can go bad driving down the street.
Sure.
I do understand that.
You just have to have the right appetite for risk.
Yeah. And there's just some risks that I don't have the appetite for.
As you get older, that appetite kind of disappears.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, you get married, you have kids, you stop maybe doing some of the things that you did when you were 20 because you thought you were bulletproof.
Yeah.
At 52 years old, I know I'm not bulletproof.
Yeah, that's true.
That's something that you learn over time.
Maybe as we get older, we'll switch and be like, okay, we're fearless. We'll do it.
Yeah, like 87 maybe.
Bucket list.
I might dive this cave.
Maybe you will one day.
So starting at the gate, about 1,500 feet of the cave has been mapped. The map portion ends at a restriction, like this narrow passage, about 150 feet deep and 10 inches wide.
Oh my gosh, man.
So some divers say it's impassable. Others say you can get in, but you can't get out. Some expert divers can get through extremely narrow restrictions by removing their tanks, which you talked about, pushing the tanks forward through the passage, and twisting their bodies in a certain way to get through.
I mean, they say you can get in, but you can't get out. But how do you know that? Unless someone got in.
Until you and couldn't get out.
Yeah.
Also, I think we have to talk about body size here. Unless I'm wearing a suit that is like of Spanx material.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I'm not getting through this 10-inch wide gap.
No, not going to happen.
I would have to be extremely more slim than I am today. Actually, I have a pretty big head. I'm not even sure my head would fit through.
I was just wondering about that.
A 10-inch wide gap.
I mean, I've had other issues on getting through that. So
in the summer of 2010, Ben visited Vortex Spring often enough that the dive shop employees and other frequent visitors got to know him. Eduardo Tarrant, an employee at the dive shop, suspected Ben was covertly exploring the cave system, even though he didn't have the required certification. He did this by tampering with the gate. Now, Ben was a certified open water diver, but not a certified cave diver. He would have needed 2 months of training and 125 dives with an instructor.
So they take it seriously.
They do. That is quite a bit of training. 125 dives. You're not doing that in a weekend.
No.
That is going to take quite a long period of time. Employee Chuck Cronin believed that while Ben had equipment and diving knowledge, he was overly confident in his abilities. That sounds like somebody else that I know.
Yeah.
Who is sitting across from this desk from me.
Ah.
You are overly confident in your abilities on so many levels. But I'm also thinking, Gibbs, people died in this cave, right? There are people who are saying you can get in, but you can't get out. It's a tight squeeze. I just wonder if that makes some people want to do this even more.
Absolutely. Tell somebody they can't do it, they're going to want to prove to you that they can do it.
Yeah. I do think there's a lot of people who have that way of thinking.
Yeah. And if you have nothing to lose, you push yourself even further because you're like, I have nothing to lose. If I get stuck on the other side, I get stuck on the other side. That's the scary people for me.
The people with nothing to lose?
Yeah.
Folks, starting your own business can be a little scary. When Gibby and I started the podcast, first of all, we really didn't know what we were doing, and there were so many things that had to be worked out. But then we found Shopify, and that helped ease a lot of our worries, especially when it came to our podcast merch. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from household names like Gymshark to True Crime All the Time, to brands just getting started. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. And Shopify can even help you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/unsolved. Go to shopify.com/unsolved. That's shopify.com/unsolved. If you're anxiety, depression, or ADHD, or more than just a rough patch, you might need more than talk therapy or self-help tools. Talkiatry connects you with real psychiatric care, so you can actually understand what's going on and get a treatment and medication plan that works. Talkiatry is a 100% online psychiatric practice that provides comprehensive evaluations, diagnoses, and ongoing medication management for conditions like ADHD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, OCD, PTSD, insomnia, and more. Unlike therapy-only platforms, Talkiatry is psychiatry. You're seeing a medical provider who can diagnose mental health conditions and prescribe medication when it's appropriate. All 800 plus clinicians are in network with major insurers, so you can use your existing insurance instead of paying monthly subscriptions or out-of-network costs. More than 300,000 patients have already found high-quality psychiatric care through Talkiatry. Head to talkiatry.com/unsolved to complete the short assessment and get matched with an in-network psychiatrist in just a few minutes. That's talkiatry.com/unsolved to get matched in minutes. In mid-August, Ben returned to Tennessee for a week to visit his family. His parents and his girlfriend said he seemed optimistic. He told them he was working on getting certified as a dive instructor, and he was researching cave diving so he could get his certification. Man, he was really into diving.
He was.
And I think he was hell-bent on doing this cave diving, for sure. He returned to Florida on August 14th, 2010. He left a note thanking his parents for the sabbatical and the opportunity to reinvent himself and promising to look after them as they got older. On August 18, 2010, Ben returned to Vortex Springs. He did one dive in the middle of the day. Other divers saw him looking closely at the area around the cave. He was recorded on security camera at the dive shop, making a transaction to fill his air tanks. He spent the rest of the afternoon testing his equipment and making notes in his dive log. As evening came, Ben prepared for another dive. He called his mother on his cell phone, which was the last contact he had with his family. Around 7:30 p.m., Ben began another dive. Vortex Spring employees Chuck Cronin and Eduardo Terran were coming up from a dive at that time, and they passed Ben. They were friends, in addition to being co-workers at the dive shop, and they often went diving together on Wednesdays after the shop closed. So these two guys, they passed Ben as they were swimming out. They had noticed the gate to the cave had been tampered with, and they suspected it was Ben. So this is the second time that we've heard this.
Right.
This gate is locked for a reason. It's because you got to get the key, and to get the key, you have to have a certain level of certification that we know Ben was working on, but he didn't yet have.
But it sounded like he didn't have the patience to wait either.
Yeah, it could be. It could be that he was so eager to dive this cave that he didn't want to wait. I mentioned it, right? It took 125 dives with an instructor.
It's a long time and a lot of money.
Both. Terran swam back to the cave and used his key to open the gate. Now, the sources didn't really explain exactly why he chose to do this. The Commercial Appeal noted that Terran had gotten to know Ben over the weeks. He spent diving at Vortex Spring, so perhaps that had something to do with his decision. Terran saw Ben go in, and then he returned to Chuck Cronin. On some nights when they had seen Ben dive late, the two had stayed at the spring until they saw bubbles on the surface, indicating he was beginning to decompress to safely resurface. On the night of the 18th, they didn't stay, and instead they went back to Eduardo's house for coffee. Ben's truck was still in the parking lot the next morning, but the employees said they were too busy to notice because they had a lot of visitors that day. On the morning of the 20th, they saw that his truck was still in the parking lot. After determining that no one had seen Ben, Eduardo Terran called the Holmes County Sheriff's Office. Ben's tanks, wetsuit, and other diving equipment weren't found, and there were no signs of a struggle near his truck. His wallet, which had almost $700 in cash, and his phone were in the cab of his truck. His dive log showed that he explored the cave and had made a map. So I think, that confirms it right there.
Yeah.
He had been diving the cave.
Illegally.
Yeah, I don't know, illegally, but against the rules of the place of Vortex Spring. I don't know if it was against the law, but it also makes it seem that more than likely he might have been the person to tamper with the gate, right? That's how he was getting in. Now, it does seem as though the night that he made that last dive, Taryn opened the gate for him. That's the way it made it seem.
And if that's true, is there any liability there?
I would say so. You have this rule, but you're breaking the rule to allow this guy to go in when he's not certified to do it.
Yeah.
At his home in Santa Rosa Beach, officers found Ben's dog, which was hungry after going 2 days without food.
Or puppy.
So, you talk about the worry scale, and we do in many, many episodes, and there's a lot here to kind of weigh on the scale.
Yeah.
Most people don't leave behind a wallet with $700 in it.
That is very true.
Most people don't leave their phone. And you know what people really don't do? Leave their dogs alone for 2 days without food and water.
No way, man. You're going to either take that dog with you or have someone take care of it for you.
So to me, that's a very bad sign. Also, the fact that all of his diving equipment, his wetsuit, none of that was found. It makes it seem as though he made the dive but didn't come back up.
It never came back out.
So based on all these circumstances, police and the dive shop employees assumed Ben never resurfaced and had likely drowned in the cave while trying to get out. Captain Harry Hamilton, an investigator in Holmes County, thought a large number of divers would volunteer to search for Ben. Hamilton soon realized that there are very few divers who have the training and skill to navigate cave diving. Several experienced divers did volunteer and searched small crevices and fissures of the cave that Ben might have entered in his attempt to escape as his tanks ran low. This is a pattern found in other cave diving deaths.
Interesting you chose the term fissures. You hear that a lot in colonoscopies.
You hear it, that you have a fissure?
I didn't say that's what I hear.
Oh.
But you hear it in that, when they talk about certain things.
How do you know that unless you were in there when the doctor said, hey, Gibby, you have an anal fissure?
One, I went to med school. Two, I practiced medicine at a very young age.
And three, you now have an anal fissure.
But when you think about these experts for these caves being so limited, it's kind of scary in one point that if you got lost or missing above ground, you have a better chance of people coming out and helping you. In this case, you're going to get whoever's qualified and willing to put their life at risk going into these very tight-knit places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really takes very little to no experience to help volunteer to search ground, right? You're essentially walking, and sometimes they give you flags. You plant a flag if you see something, and then somebody comes and checks it out. You don't need a lot of experience. You just need to be willing to help out. In this case, though, it's not enough to be willing to help out. You have to be able to do it. You have to be certified.
Yeah.
Because it's very dangerous. But the one thing that really got to me was how scary this situation must be, right? You're in a underwater space that you can't figure out how to escape from, and your tanks are getting low. And at some point, they're so low that you're trying to find a little spot maybe to get a breath. I don't know, but so scary to think about. It must be a horrible way to die.
I would think so. I just think it would be scary to be trapped there, not knowing if you can ever get out. And, what if you went further than some people have ever went in those caves and then found yourself in a jam? Well, maybe nobody will ever get that far when they're trying to find you.
But isn't that the danger of this type of activity?
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, I think in a lot of these things, when you think of extreme sports or extreme situations, you don't know that you've gone too far until it's too late. Ben's parents and his girlfriend Emily drove to Florida to observe the dives. Despite multiple searches that weekend, Ben was not found. And you can only imagine the worry of his parents and his girlfriend. 2 tanks known to belong to Ben were found outside the entrance to the cave. This was unusual because cave divers typically leave tanks for decompression along their exit route. Ben's tanks contained only air, not a gas mix as required for cave diving. Without the gas mix, divers can feel intoxicated and decision-making becomes harder. If Ben had been researching cave diving like he said he was, then he should have been aware of this.
Yeah, you think that would be one of the first things talked about in the cave diving research.
But if he didn't use the mix, it sounds like he would have, become disoriented pretty quickly, and that would have been a recipe for disaster.
Sure. You're in a cave, you don't know which way is up, down, out. It's a problem.
On August 22nd, Ed Sorensen, a veteran diver and recovery specialist, received a text from his wife. Diver missing, searches Friday and Saturday unsuccessful. Ed Sorensen has done between 7,000 and 8,000 dives in his career. He's considered the nation's leading expert in dive rescues and recovery. He's the only person on Earth who has done more than one successful cave rescue in his lifetime.
Wow.
So, you can throw around the word expert, cavalierly, and some people do, right?
Right.
Not here. This guy is an expert in this field.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. He returned from his yacht trip to the Bahamas. The following day, he received calls from other recovery divers about the search. One told him he almost died in the cave. An official with the International Underwater Cave Rescue and Recovery told Sorensen not to go. But on August 23, 2010, Ed Sorensen arrived at Vortex Spring to search for Ben. He did 3 dives that day. He used a diver propulsion vehicle and smaller tanks to increase his range. And I think this goes back to what we talked about, right? You tell somebody they shouldn't do it, they can't do it. It might make them want to do it even more.
Yeah. Now,
there's the added element here that, there's somebody missing. So this is not for sport. I mean, he's doing this to try to save a life or make a recovery.
I mean, I think at this point it's to make a recovery, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Sorensen made it 1,700 feet into the cave, which is 200 feet past the official map. He saw marks on the limestone. Where another recovery diver had been earlier, he managed to go forward another 20 feet. Ben was 6'1" and weighed 210 pounds. He was an inch taller and 20 pounds heavier than Sorensen. Sorensen knew that if Ben had gotten to that point, there would be marks on the limestone from where his helmet scraped the ceiling of the cave, or marks in the bottom where he took off his tanks and swam with one in front of him. There should also be extra tanks left behind for the journey out. Sorensen also knew that there would be signs if Ben's body was in the cave, such as increased activity from aquatic scavengers. But there was nothing. Sorensen said that without training, there was no way Ben could have gotten through some of the narrower restrictions. Sorensen didn't think Ben was in the cave.
All right, so we have a diving expert saying, I don't think he's in here.
Well, and it's based off some, pretty good information, right? He made it a really far distance into the cave. He didn't see Ben, obviously. He didn't see any marks where he felt marks should have been if he made it that far.
Right.
And he didn't see any of the tanks that should have been left for the return trip. So what does that mean? That he made it even further? I don't think so, because I think you still would have seen the marks.
Yeah.
That he really didn't know exactly what he was doing. He didn't have the right mix. He didn't leave the tanks where he should have left them. and his body is somewhere that they just still haven't found, or he's not down there at all. I mean, there's a number of different scenarios, but let's explore just for a minute, Gibbs, he's not down there at all.
Right, because I think we have to go down that avenue.
Yeah, and just talk about it a little bit. How many times do you and I talk about why would someone just want to up and leave and kind of start a new life, right? In a lot of scenarios, it does not make sense. Does it make maybe a little more sense here? We detailed out, all of the different things Ben was going through. He lost his brother, his best friend, the divorce, the big debt to the IRS and to the state. Now, he still had his parents. He had a new girlfriend. But could there have been some things in his life that made him want to start a new one and kind of get away from some of his baggage? Possibly. Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely potential.
I would say more so here than in a lot of the cases we do. Questions continue to arise in the weeks after Ben's disappearance. A few days after Ben went missing, his mother, Patty McDaniel, recalled a feeling that God was telling her that Ben's soul was in heaven, but his body was still in Vortex Spring. The family wondered if perhaps Ben was buried under silt in a nook someone had missed. Divers explained to them that it would be like someone lying down in the yard with scuba gear on, buried under leaves. It would be very noticeable.
Yeah, so they're saying that's not the case. Then we would have seen him.
Yeah, no way, right? And to me, it's a great description. Think about being in scuba dive gear in a yard under some leaves.
Yeah,
you're going to be able to tell, right, that something's there.
It's like taking your Scuba Steve doll, because I know you have two of them.
Yep.
I don't know why you have two.
One I bathe with and one I sleep with.
Yeah, and just putting a little pile of leaves on it out in the front yard. Smaller scale, but you would see it.
Mm-hmm. So I like the analogy.
Yeah.
But I get the family too, right? They're grasping at straws.
Of course.
At this point, trying to think of anything that could be possible. If you're anxiety, depression, or ADHD, or more than just a rough patch, you might need more than talk therapy or self-help tools. Talkiatry connects you with real psychiatric care, so you can actually understand what's going on and get a treatment and medication plan that works. Talkiatry is a 100% online psychiatric practice that provides comprehensive evaluations, diagnoses, and ongoing medication management for conditions like ADHD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, OCD, PTSD, insomnia, and more. Unlike therapy-only platforms, Talkiatry is psychiatry. You're seeing a medical provider who can diagnose mental health conditions and prescribe medication when it's appropriate. All 800 plus clinicians are in network with major insurers, so you can use your existing insurance instead of paying monthly subscriptions or out-of-network costs. More than 300,000 patients have already found high-quality psychiatric care through Talkiatry. Head to talkiatry.com/unsolved to complete the short assessment and get matched with an in-network psychiatrist in just a few minutes. That's talkiatry.com/unsolved to get matched in minutes. Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options, no guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, price and coverage match limited by state law. The family agreed to put up $54,000 to guarantee the cost of replacing a remotely operated underwater camera, borrowed by the sheriff's office. After 8 hours, the camera only made it 1,300 feet into the cave. The family hired a guy named Steve Keene, who spent more than 100 hours with a team mapping the cave in 2003. Keene did 7 dives. He told Ben's father, Shelby McDaniel, per the Tampa Bay Times, "We went through the whole cave. If he's in there, I don't know where he'd be." So there's not a lot of people looking for him just because there's not a lot of people who can.
Right.
But the people who are extremely experienced, and it sounds like they have searched pretty much all of the cave that can be searched.
Saying he's not there. He's just not there.
And I, in my mind, keep going back to, well, could he have gone farther? Or could his body have drifted farther? But then how do you explain there not being the marks where there should be marks? Made by the helmet, made by the scuba tanks, as the other divers made.
I mean, either he got really lucky in getting through there without having to mark up anything, but he was a big guy, so I can't imagine it not happening.
In total, 16 divers spent 36 days looking for Ben with no results. Volunteer searches continued in October and November. Some of the best divers in the country came to believe Ben was not in the cave.
Which is adding up based on what the divers have said and seen. So if he's not in the cave, where's he at?
Yeah, there's a lot of people coming to this opinion, and these are not novices again, right? These are expert divers, and they're basing this opinion on their own personal dives.
Yeah.
So places where they're marking, they didn't see his marks, stuff like that's pretty compelling.
And when you hear all this coming to surface, see what I did there?
Mm-hmm. I'm not Mensa, but I'm not a dummy.
It makes you want to know, okay, he's not here, but now what? Now where do we put our efforts? If we believe all this, now that means that he's got to be somewhere else. What is that somewhere else?
Yeah, and you also have to get into the area of, did he leave willingly, let's say in order to start another life, get away from some of his troubles, or did he meet with foul play, but after he came out of the cave and surfaced? Yeah. There's a lot of unknown here. The McDaniels offered a reward to divers who were brave enough to go deeper into the cave. And I get it. If I'm the family, I'm spending whatever I can, right, to try to find my loved one. Vortex Spring employee Chuck Cronin and owner Lowell Kelly theorized that perhaps Ben ran away to start a new life, a theory Ben's family rejected. Ben's parents believed that since he knew how badly Paul's death hurt them, he wouldn't leave with no notice. And I get that. Also, again, if you're the family, would you ever really believe that your loved one would willingly leave your life, disappear, start a new life, never contact you again?
No.
It'd be really hard to believe that, right?
Yeah.
But it has happened.
It has.
I still don't think it's the norm, but it has happened. Both Eduardo Terran and Chuck Cronin passed polygraphs. The police monitored Ben's bank, phone, email, and Facebook, but there was no activity. In the spring of 2011, the sheriff's office brought 2 cadaver dogs to Vortex Spring. One dog reacted strongly to the water, indicating the presence of decomposing remains. The other dog reacted as well. The water was sampled 30 times over several months, but none of the tests indicated a spike in bacteria consistent with decomposition.
But yet these dogs were going crazy. Why is that?
I don't know. Now, there had been people who had died there before, but again, if they're only reacting or supposed to react to decomposition, I can't imagine there would be anything left over from the 1980s, right, when these 13 people died that would cause these dogs to react. But I don't know that to be a fact. Rick Russo, a state-licensed water and wastewater operator, told the Tampa Bay Times, "We couldn't find a trace of anything. I hate it for the parents. But to say a man is down there, in my opinion, that's false.
So another expert saying, yeah, I don't think he's down there.
Investigators theorized that if Ben died and his body washed out of the cave system with the natural flow of the water, he probably wouldn't have gone far past the mouth of the spring. Teams searched the swamps and forests downstream, but found nothing. By 2011, the family began considering the possibility that Ben died as a result of foul play, and his disappearance was a cover-up. The family hired P.I. Lynn Marie Carty, who found that other people associated with Vortex Spring, besides owner Lowell Kelly, had criminal records. Carty told the Commercial Appeal, "There's just as much reason to look above the water for Ben's body as there was to look below it in the cave." So apparently, there were a number of people associated with Vortex Spring who had criminal records. Now, what does that mean? Maybe they gave people a chance?
Maybe, yeah.
Or maybe you had people doing criminal things. Maybe Ben stumbled upon something that he shouldn't have seen.
Maybe they were like Yellowstone. They wanted to give criminals a chance and brand them, you know?
Yeah, there was no talk of branding, but I get where you're going.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen. You branded me.
You asked me to do that. You wanted Mensa on your chest. Instead of getting a tattoo, you want it branded for some reason.
It seemed like the smarter thing to do.
Mensa. There were a few suspicious events reported on the day Ben went missing that could possibly support the foul play theory. Lowell Kelly reported that on the evening Ben disappeared, a wild-eyed drunk man appeared at the shop and asked if it was too late to dive. The possibility has been raised that this man, if he exists, may have been involved in Ben's disappearance.
Wild-eyed. Got to watch out for those type of guys.
Well, especially a wild-eyed drunk.
Yes.
Earlier that day, a diver had a confrontation with several teenagers on the property about their drinking. They left, but it was suggested that perhaps they came back for revenge. Former owner Lowell Kelly died under suspicious circumstances in early 2012. When Ben disappeared, Kelly was awaiting trial on charges that he drove a temporary employee into the woods, accused him of stealing $30,000, and beat him with a baseball bat. Kelly pleaded no contest and was given a fine and probation.
Okay. Got some violent activities going on here.
And how in the world do you beat somebody with a baseball bat and get a fine and probation?
That I don't understand.
Investigators said they interviewed Kelly and found nothing suspicious. Ben's family was frustrated by the limitations of the search and believed he was in a part of the cave no one had reached. As I mentioned earlier, Ben's family offered a $10,000 reward to anyone brave enough to find him in the cave. This insinuation alienated previous divers who risked their lives searching the cave and raised fears that it would encourage untrained divers to risk their lives for money. And Ben's parents increased the award twice. But I get that, right? If you're one of these guys who in the beginning, just did this to help find Ben, now you're hearing that they're offering money for anyone, quote unquote, brave enough to do it.
Yeah.
That you would take that the wrong way.
Absolutely. I did it for no money.
And I was brave enough.
And you sounds like maybe you didn't like my results.
Yeah. Now I'm not blaming his parents because, again, if I was in that situation, I'd do anything I had to do.
Sure you would.
To try to find my child. In March 2012, when the reward was at $30,000, something tragic happened. On March 17, 2012, Larry Higginbotham, a diver from Biloxi, Mississippi, died in the cavern at Vortex Spring. His body was retrieved the next day by Ed Sorensen. There was no explicit evidence Higginbotham was trying to find Ben, but the divers who found his body believed he was. He was found near a shovel, near a restriction so small no one could get through, according to Sorensen, who pulled his body out. Ed Sorensen told the Commercial Appeal, Not only did the reward endanger the lives of divers who would risk going farther than they should, it put all of our lives at risk because we have to go in to recover the body.
That's true. I mean, you got somebody that you know is not coming out, and you got to go to recover that body, and maybe it's a little trickier than it should be.
But what does this say about the search for Ben? They found this guy the very next day.
Yeah, it makes you think that most likely he's not there, because how many times did they search? They never found anything.
Right.
And this guy you find in one day?
The following month, the family rescinded the award. They had not received any tips on the hotline they created, and they realized that if anyone had information, they weren't going to talk. It wasn't worth risking the lives of other divers. Shelby McDaniel told the Commercial Appeal, "We didn't want somebody to go into the cave and drown because they were looking for Ben." In 2012, the popular show Disappeared covered Ben's disappearance. That year, the documentary Ben's Vortex was also released. Ben's Vortex was produced by Jill Heinerth and her husband, Robert McClellan. Jill has dived deeper than any other woman in history and had been following Ben's story. She and a partner filmed in the cave. She also read Ben's diving log, which showed he was mapping the cave and made at least one dive to the far reaches of the cave. She said in an email to the Commercial Appeal, "I explained how divers panic and burrow themselves in beyond the reach of prudent divers. Sometimes they burrow so deep that they can't be found. I simply see no reasonable evidence that he is not in the cave." Robert McClellan said he leaned toward the possibility that Ben might have decided to reinvent himself and start a new life. The McDaniels maintain that this is the least plausible of all the theories. In 2013, the state of Florida issued a death certificate to Ben's family. His family strongly believes his body is in an accessible area of the Vortex Spring cave system. As of 2026, Ben has not been found dead or alive. Besides the 2 tanks found outside the cave, none of his gear or equipment has ever been found. His disappearance and presumed death remains one of the biggest mysteries in the cave diving community.
I mean, it seems like a big mystery. And you have experts on both sides saying different things. You know, at first they're saying, there's no way he could be down there. We searched everywhere. And then you have somebody else, another expert, saying that she sees no evidence that would tell you that he's not down there.
Yeah. Again, mystery, right? The one thing I would say is that I think there's been a lot more experts say there's no way his body could be down there than say he is down there or could be down there.
Yeah.
Now, take that for, what it's worth. I also think it's very interesting that none of his gear has ever been found.
No, it's bizarre. So did someone hurt him to steal his gear? Did he take it somewhere to, just maybe some people thought, did he just decide to disappear?
Or did someone hurt him and bury him with his gear so that it would never be found? There is a lot of possibilities here, but I don't know how anyone is ever going to get to the truth unless his body is recovered, or his remains are recovered at this point, or someone comes forward to tell the story of what they know if they were involved in some, type of foul play that ended his life. But I can see why people are, especially in the dive community, are really fascinated by this case or intrigued by it, because it is very mysterious. When Jill says that she found evidence that he had gone further than what people thought.
Right.
Okay. I don't know. What's that mean? Is it possible that he went further than anybody else and that's why they can't find his body? I think that's what she's kind of hinting or saying.
I think it's a possibility.
Well, again, there's too many possibilities, right?
Well,
that's the
it.
problem.
Yeah. I mean, after you remove the obvious things, like he's not visible to us in the parts of cave that we went through.
Yes.
But maybe he found a different entry point somewhere else, to another section of the cave, or he went further than
these other people did. Well, the other thing is we don't know how big this cave is. We don't know where it leads. So we don't know where it ends.
Could took him all the way to China.
That is the one thing I'm sure did not happen.
You ever hear people say that when you were growing up?
About 1 million times. Digging your way to China. That's everybody used to say that.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that's not possible, but people said it anyway.
They did.
Even if you could get to the what is it? The molten core.
Yeah, what is that? The Mandalay?
Did you just say Mandalay?
I started to. I pulled back.
Uh-huh.
I think I was going to go with the mandolin which is not. That's a thing in the kitchen that you know.
It's an instrument.
It's an instrument too. Yeah.
So now I don't really know what you're saying, but I say we just move on.
Yeah, I think we do.
Because I don't think you're going to right that ship. But I mean, that's it for our episode on Ben McDaniel. No doubt. It is a very mysterious case.
It's really intriguing.
It is. And hopefully one day the mystery will be solved.
Yeah.
You'd like that for his family.
Sure.
Obviously. But we got a voicemail. You want to check that out?
Let's hear it.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Al from Massachusetts, the Adams, Massachusetts area. And I am rehashing the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast and listened again to the Molly Bish episode. And I have a dear friend that lives in Massachusetts who her sister had been murdered. Lisa Ziegert. You should check out that crime and the amazing way that it had been solved after so many years, and the love that the family had for their daughter and sister, and how they would never let it rest, and how a lot of the local people, some of them were suspects for years and could not get out from under that shadow. But anyway, you guys are great. I'm not Team Gibby. I'm not Team Mike. I'm Team True Crime. You guys are one of the best podcasts on social media. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Love you too, brother. Thanks for the voicemail and the kind words. It's very much appreciated. And we will definitely check that case out.
Yeah. And you definitely sound like Team Gibby. I mean, you couldn't have said
why
Gibby
can't people just
any
say
better than you said? You like even went up an octave, you know?
Why can't you just say, oh, that's great. You know, you don't have to be team one or the other. You just want everyone on your side. All right, buddy. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe. Keep your own time ticking.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is ours.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.